Dan Suckling.
My story is based around survival.
When you were craving that acceptance, what were you doing?
I just do and say things that were out of alignment with who I was. Just things that I knew were wrong to be accepted by the people around me.
What did you do for yourself to get out of this pattern, to get out of these ruts?
It's changed my life, boxing has. It's given me so much confidence and certainty.
Did you sort of always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or own your own things one day?
No, I've had so many jobs. I was building floors in Coca-Cola trucks. I was doing MIG welding, steel fixing. I was a chef apprentice at one point. I always had this inkling inside of me that I was meant for something else.
And then you end up in Bali. What was your reasoning for wanting to move here?
18 months, we did about $1.2 million in revenue. Everyone thought I was crushing it. But on the inside, I was dying. I'm so unhappy, like something needs to change. I don't know what it is. And then within 24 hours, I booked a one-way flight to Bali. I've been in Bali now for nearly 4 years. And one thing that I would love to teach myself is how to revisit that same feeling that I experienced when I was riding the bike on that first day. Like, this is it. How do I bring that feeling back into my body to experience that again and again and again?
What do you think is your fuel source now?
It's the fear of going back.
How do you think you suppress or express your emotions now?
That's a really interesting question.
If I could have one moment of your time. Most of you guys listening or watching do not subscribe to the channel. The simple and easiest way to help and support us is to subscribe. It helps us get the guests that you guys want, and it gives us a more opportunity to grow this thing to where we want to take it. Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. Kia ora.
Dan Suckling, welcome to the Martin Show.
Thank you.
The Bali series, part
good to be
1. What do we need to know about you, bro? To know a little bit more about who you are and the life that you've lived.
I guess most of my story is based around survival, to be honest. Growing up, me and my brother were basically fending a lot for ourselves. My parents were gamblers and they would go out at night and I'd say, "Where are you going?" They said, "Oh, to see a man about a dog. If you're lucky, we'll bring you home some McDonald's." And then if they were losing, they'd call us at about 10 p.m. and they're like, "I'll just make some noodles." We're like, "Okay." They kind of rent us video games to distract us and stuff like that. And yeah, I think a whole big portion of my life was based around trying to fit in. Obviously, I was born in Australia. My parents are Kiwis. My whole family's from New Zealand. But growing up, I was, the captain of the OzTag team and playing league and really popular inside of my class and stuff like that. And then when we moved to New Zealand, I felt like I was the outcast, all these boys at school, they'd grown up since primary. And here's me, just this Aussie accent dude trying to fit in, And I'd just do and say things that were out of alignment with who I was just to be accepted by the people around me. And it's interesting what humans do, especially young teenagers, they're such an influential age, what they will do to be liked and be accepted. Because that's what ended up getting me sent to Australia when I was 15 on my own.
What was it that you did to, I guess, when you were craving that acceptance, what were you doing?
Well, I was going out and binge drinking every weekend and smoking weed every single day. And, my dad would catch me. And there's nothing worse than being caught by your old man smoking weed. He's breathe on me. I'm like paranoid too. I'm like, and he'd just yell at me and hit me. And, it just made my paranoia even worse.
Wow.
But smoking weed all the time and hanging out at tinny houses in Mangere Bridge and going out and, we'd be jumping people and just things that I knew were wrong. But I did it anyway because I felt like if I didn't, I wouldn't be accepted by that group of boys. And what's really crazy is when I first moved to New Zealand, I was a big graffiti artist in Sydney. So I felt like that was my entry point to make friends. And so I met these two dudes in Mangere Bridge. We became really good mates. And one night we filled our backpack full of spray cans. We're walking down the Mangere Bridge township and we see about 12 dudes drinking at the bus stop. And they see us like, "Hey, come here." I'm freaking out. I'm just gassing it. I don't know where I'm going. I'm brand new to the area. I end up running down this dead end road. They end up catching me. They take my cigarettes, take my money. And I remember all of them pushing us and like, "You come around our hood, C word, all that sort of stuff." And I'm freaking out. I'm like, what is going to happen? And I ended up getting smashed so hard. I remember laying face down on the concrete, and they were just kicking me nonstop to the point where I shat myself, by the way.
Wow.
And I remember getting pulled to my feet from the back of my collar, and the dude just saying, "Just run, bro, just run." I remember just sprinting nonstop, like 5 or 6 kilometers back to my mate's house. And that moment was really traumatic. I remember after that moment, I developed a lot of paranoia and maybe a bit of PTSD, where I'd be in the car with my dad. He'd pull up at the dairy or he'd pull up at the gas station and be like, "Hey, can you pay for the gas?" And instead of walking in, I'd be looking around, jog in, pay for the gas, jog back to the car. But those same dudes that jumped me ended up being the boys that I was hanging around with.
Wow.
And the crazy thing about Mangere Bridge back in those days was that there wasn't a wide range of groups that you could associate with. It was just the boys. And the boys was like 80 people. And they were all kind of street gangs and graffiti and, drinking every weekend. And I remember the boys would always fight each other at these drink ups. There were never any girls, not many girls, just sausage fest.
Bunch of young lads.
Yeah, stealing from each other, fighting each other, mocking each other. And looking back, I'm like, man, it's crazy that I put myself in that environment or tolerated that. So when my dad eventually did send me to Australia, whilst in that moment, standing at Sydney Airport, feeling unloved, feeling like my parents didn't give a shit about me, I'm now grateful in hindsight, because if I had have stayed in Mangere Bridge, who knows where I would have been or how wrecked my confidence would have become.
Yeah. And then, so you fly to Aussie, or you get sent to Aussie rather. And were you still in this mindset of, I need acceptance, I need love, I need these certain things? And were you still behaving, I guess, negatively and having these bad habits?
Yeah, well, what's really crazy is when we moved from Australia to New Zealand when I was 14, when I got sent back to Australia when I was 16, I went back to the same area that I moved from originally. So when I came back, I was friends with all these Māori guys in Sydney, and, "Oh, Dan's come back from Mangere Bridge, and like, here I am, this wannabe gangster," and you know what I mean? Like, wannabe tough guy and all that sort of stuff. And that coupled with having no direction from no parents, no dad giving me a hiding, telling me, "No, don't do that." No mum, telling me off for playing up. I was just free reign.
Now looking back, what are your thoughts on your parents and I guess their parenting style or behavior? Like, would have you have done something differently if you were them?
I guess I can't blame my parents. My dad grew up in a religious cult called the Exclusive Brethren Church. I'm not too sure if you've heard of it, but it's quite big in New Zealand and worldwide too.
Wow.
But it's a religious cult where you're not allowed to watch TV. You're not allowed to listen to music. You're not allowed to associate with anybody that does not go to this church. And you go to church maybe 3 times a day. So my dad was born into this religious cult and brainwashed and programmed from a young age. And he rebelled when he was younger. He used to get locked in his room for 2 weeks at a time and given hidings every single day. And one day he jumped out of his bedroom window, didn't see his parents for 30 years. So my dad grew up in Manurewa, went to Manurewa High School. And so, I guess we learn things from how we're brought up and the things that we've been through. And you can it's like a fork in the road. Have you heard the story of the dad? There's a kid, he's an alcoholic. And his mates go to him, "Why do you drink so much, bro?" My dad was an alcoholic. But then you get a kid and he's never had a drink in his life. Now, "Why don't you drink?" Dad was an alcoholic. Same experience, different pathway.
Wow.
So I guess you could take what you've been through and you could use it for the positive or you could use it for the negative. But one person has to break that pattern.
Yeah.
Because they talk about generational trauma, it gets passed down.
And so you're in Australia now at 16. How do you cope now? Are you still hanging out with the wrong crowd? You're hanging out with these people. Where's the turning point for you?
Yeah, so I ended up getting a job through my dad's old brethren cult in Australia and living with my old primary school friend. And I got kicked out after about a month when they found out that I was smoking weed. And then I moved in with this chick that I met, and we were living together for about a year and a half. And it was just a toxic relationship. Again, smoking weed every single day. We used to live in this apartment complex, and our neighbor across the hallway, they were just junkies. They'd smoke weed every single day. They'd be spitting on the carpet. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Good protein for the dogs. Just like weird people, weird shit. And my girlfriend one day, she threw all my stuff out on the road and I had nowhere to go. So I ended up knocking on the door of the room across from the hallway and asking those junkies, could I live with you temporarily while I find a new place? I had nowhere else to go. And while I was living there with those junkies, my parents surprised me with they came to Australia to be like, hey, we just came to see how you're going. And when they saw the state that I was living in, they lost their shit. And my mum, she had no filter, just ruthless woman. She's yelling at the people that I'm living with. You guys are fucking pigs. How could you live like this? And they're saying to me, Dan, you're going to come back to New Zealand with us. But stubborn me, I wanted to prove to them now that I could be independent. So I'm like, no, I can make it on my own. I don't need your help. And things just continued to spiral out of control. I remember living with another friend and, he was associating with bad people too. We used to go out and try to steal laptops from commercial buildings and stuff like that. And we rang, well, not myself, but the guy that we were with, he rang these drug dealers one day, these Lebanese drug dealers, and ordered a 50 bag. This carload of drug dealers comes over. Our Tongan mate, his name's Issa Kelly, he goes out to the car and says to them, you've been giving me small 50 bags. And the Lebanese guy goes, no, we haven't. He goes, are you calling me a liar? The guy goes, yeah. And this guy, this Tongan guy, pulled out this pocket knife out of his back pocket, the guy that we were with, and put it to the Lebanese guy's neck. And he freaks out, puts his foot on the gas pedal, and it cuts his neck. Doesn't kill him. That Tongan guy did not live with me and my Māori friend with his family. He was just an associate.
Yeah.
But this happened at my friend's house. So when we were sleeping that night, gunshots.
Wow.
House got drive-by'd. And I remember, because I had no car back in Sydney. We used to catch the train. This was in Marrickville. And I remember getting a train to Marrickville, and instead of walking home, I'd be like paranoid, looking out for this white car, that same Lebanese drug dealer car, because I thought that if they saw me, they'd kill me, So I'm just paranoid. I'm just sprinting home from the train station every single time. Man, so the pattern of on edge survival, it's been very apparent, growing up.
And what would you say to someone because right now looking in retrospect, it's probably something where you're like, I had to go through all that to get to the other side. But to those individuals that maybe 16 young lads, 16 to 25, and they're in a similar position, maybe not so, but, going out every weekend in the same pattern, in this pattern of negativity, really. What would you say to them? Would you say that you have to go through it? Would you say get out of it as soon as you can?
Yeah, sometimes I think that it takes something really bad to happen to get that wake-up call. And some people just haven't had that thing happen yet where they get the wake-up call. Their parents could say, don't do that. And it's like, I'm just going to do it anyway. Or their friends or somebody else could say, that's not good for you, man. But until they learn the lesson for themselves, they're going to keep doing it.
What did you do for yourself to get out of this pattern, to get out of these ruts?
Well, when I was living in Sydney, the reason why I came back to New Zealand was because I was at an ATM with all of my friends and I got some money out we used to get a goon bag for $8 and we used to hang outside the liquor store and wait for some dude that looked slightly cool walking in so we could ask him to buy it for us. And went to the ATM, withdrew $20, and then I checked my account balance and now it said $40. So then I got out $40 and now it said I had $80. I'm like, is there a glitch inside of this ATM? I was like, boys, we're on today. So I'm just withdrawing all of this cash and we spend it. Turns out that was minus 40. Then I got 40, it was minus 80. So I'm going deeper and deeper into overdraft. And so I call my dad from a payphone, and I'm just boiling my eyes out saying, please take me home. I'm sorry. I want to change, And went back to Mungadere Bridge, the same place that got me sent over. And the Bebo days?
Yep, bro.
Yeah, I was on Bebo and I was chatting to this chick and she lived up in Wellsford. So I ended up moving up there and living on a horse farm and dating her for 4 years. And I got out of that environment. And that's when I got back into boxing because I was boxing in Mungadere Bridge after I got jumped.
Okay.
I went because I've been playing rugby league since I was 6. And when I first moved to New Zealand, went to try out for Manukau Rovers, rugby union.
Yeah.
And I was like, these dudes are 7 foot Samoans with beards and shit. 15 years old. I was like, I'm going to get crushed. So then I found the boxing gym after I got jumped, and started my journey there. It's changed my life. Boxing has.
Wow.
It's given me so much confidence, and certainty in just my capabilities, you know?
Mm.
I feel like if I didn't have that, man, I'd feel destroyed.
Yeah. So boxing was sort of the vehicle where you started to develop maybe confidence in self, strength in mind, all these sorts of things, right? Character.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Martin Show First Ad Break. For anyone who is wanting to go on a new journey, learn a new skill, we have started our basic beginners boxing fundamentals course. For anyone, if it's your first time, if you're a seasoned member, this is the course for you in the boxing space or fitness space. Click the link below or go to onlineboxingtraining.com and I'll see you guys there. Let's get some mahi, eh?
At this time, you are working for your dad's company moving furniture, correct?
When I came back to New Zealand, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then from there, did you sort of always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or own your own things one day?
No, man, I've had so many jobs. You know, I was building floors in Coca-Cola trucks. I was doing MIG welding, steel fixing. I was a chef apprentice at one point. I've had so many jobs. But I did have a few entrepreneurial tendencies when I was a kid growing up. You know, I used to sell these things called crazy bones. You can get a rare one, and you know the kids used to save up their lunch money and buy these rare crazy bones. And you know, Tarzos, you got the slammers, and playing marbles for money and stuff like that. But I've always kind of worked since I was 11 years old. I was a paper boy on Sunday mornings with the whistle and the wheelbarrow. But I always had this inkling inside of me that I was meant for something else, not just working 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I knew there was something else. And even when I was working for my dad's company, moving furniture, the environment that I was in, they were just kind of toxic. I guess some of the people there. And I remember listening to Les Brown. Do you know him? The motivational speaker, kind of like an
Okay.
Eric Thomas, but
Yeah.
more of a preacher. Listening to him on the way to work about, you know, who you associate with and success. And I was really inspired. But then when I get to work, I just hear all this I'm like, oh man. But yeah, one thing just led to another. It's just saying yes to opportunities when they present themselves.
Opportunities came, but for a lot of people are blind to opportunities. They feel like they're still in the head down, right? I got nothing working for me. What was sort of like the first step for your turning point? Was it seeking someone immediately? Was it maybe the confidence to give things a go now that you've done all this boxing stuff? You had a little bit of confidence in self. What was the sort of the first step?
It was really interesting because I was at a boxing tournament in Whangarei and I was going to fight that night. And dad pulled me aside and said that mum was sick. And growing up, mum used to always get taken away by ambulance. She's always on a nebulizer, had like early signs of emphysema.
Mhm.
And I kind of brushed it off because I was like, you know, this happens all the time with mum. Didn't really take it too seriously. And then probably about 30 minutes before the fight, dad pulled me aside and told me that mum had passed away. So I had pulled out of the fight and went to the Wellsford pad.
Yeah.
Played some pool, had some drinks, and dad came over afterwards and he's like, do you want to come with me to Hamilton with his ex-wife? And I said, no, I don't want to go there. I just want to chill. And I ended up going to this Wellsford after ball, even though I didn't go to school, and just getting absolutely hammered and just suppressing everything and trying to fight people. And after that, I had one more fight and I fought like shit. And my coach at the time, he said, I don't want to work with you anymore. I don't want to train you anymore. So then I was like, fuck. So I got into the gym, started just lifting weights. And then I had some weird idea. I was like, I want to do a bodybuilding show. Because my mum was a world champion bodybuilder back in the day. I was like, I want to do a bodybuilding show in memory of my mum. Just one. So I'm just training hard. That's why I started taking test and Tren and Masteron. And ended up doing that bodybuilding show. Came second place in Auckland Champs. So it was pretty cool. Just a really emotional moment for me standing on that stage. I remember before I went out, my brother came backstage and gave me one of mum's bodybuilding medals. But that led to an obsession around nutrition. So I was like, I want to be a nutritionist. I was watching Joseph Rakic.
Yeah, bro.
I was like, I'd love to do that one day. So I studied this nutrition cert through ISSA, became certified. And I was like, I want to get a job in a gym. So I got a job in a gym at Anytime Fitness in Marangi Bay.
Yeah, bro.
And all the PTs there, they would just give meal plans to their clients. And I'm a nutritionist, but I'm like, I'm not getting any clients because all the PTs are giving them meal plans. And then I saw an ad on Facebook from this dude. His name was Lin Trin. He's from Melbourne, Australia, Asian dude. And he's talking about helping you grow a successful online fitness business. So I booked in a call with this guy. And at the end, he pitched me $8,000. And I was like, I can't afford that. And he asked me a question. He goes, "What are you going to do, Dan?" And that was such a powerful question for me because in my mind, that's like all I wanted to do. So 2 weeks had gone by. I was pondering on this question. What am I going to do? I ended up selling my TV, my lounge room furniture. I called ASB, got a $6,000 loan, and I rang him back and I said, "Let's go." And I started a company called Super Mums Elite. And I wanted to work with mums after losing my mum. And that business just really took off. I think in the space of like 18 months, we did about $1.2 million in revenue. And I've been online ever since that point.
Do you believe in because it sounds to me like it's like you just moved and things started just unfolding for you. Do you believe in the idea of luck? Being in the right place at the right time?
I think luck is definitely a piece of the puzzle, but I think luck doesn't really present yourself unless you are putting yourself in situations where you're in the right place at the right time, unless you make decisions and say yes to opportunities. Because a lot of people, they get presented with this door and the door's knocking, but they don't open that door and see what the opportunity is on the other side. And sometimes that opportunity doesn't come again.
And so this is the beginning of that journey. And you invested in, what was your mentor's name, sorry? Lynn. And since then, you've invested in about 30 plus mentors since.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier, but I feel like mentorship, particularly for young lads, is such a prominent thing in our lives. You know, it's something that we need. It's something that we crave. How does someone know? How does someone know or identify the right type of mentor, particularly early on in their journey? You know, if we're talking about lack of direction, you know, a lot of people, particularly our lads, struggle with that the most. It's usually the what do I do? You know, there's a million things out there.
Yep.
I don't know what I should do or who I should invest in. How would you sort of give advice on where to look to for that?
My philosophy is to look at somebody who has the success that you want or has the result that you want and is living the life that you want to live, and then model that person as closely as humanly possible. Everything they do. For example, when I join somebody's mentorship program, I'm not just looking at like, what systems are they going to give me? What marketing systems are they going to give me? I'm looking at, how am I being onboarded? What's the first email? Then what happens? Then what's the fulfillment process like? What does it happen on the back end here? What about referral opportunity? Like, I'm looking at it from this 3-dimensional perspective to see how I'm being marketed to, how I'm being sold to, how I'm being ascended, how I'm being fulfilled, and then trying to apply that to my own business. But even with somebody lacking direction, you could find people inside of the space that have the results that you want or have the perspective on reality that you want. You know, just the outlook on life. Because
curiosity, right?
Yeah. And just being surrounded by that type of person will influence and drive change within you.
You start this thing, does the trajectory sort of change from here onwards? Do you start creating momentum for yourself? Yeah?
I believe so. I think that our actions are based on our beliefs, whether they're right or wrong and whether they serve us or not. And our beliefs are formed through what we are fed. So if we're fed bullshit from people that don't have the results that we want, we're going to be fed beliefs that don't serve us, and therefore we're going to take actions that aren't in alignment with that outcome.
When do you start deciding on your location for yourself? So you found the vehicle, the what, and you're sort of deciding, and you're still working on the who, and then you end up in Bali. And what was your reasoning for wanting to move here?
Every day was Groundhog Day in New Zealand. At that point, I had a different company, and we were doing about $260,000 a month. And on the outside, everyone thought I was crushing it. But on the inside, I was dying. I had a team of 12 staff. I had 136 clients that all wanted a piece of me 24/7. I had all of these expenses. My profit margins were only 20%, so I wasn't keeping the 260. And every day was just wake up, coffee, work, gym, eat, sleep, wake up, coffee. And I said to my best mate, I was like, man, I'm so unhappy. Like, something needs to change. I don't know what it is, but something needs to change. And then within 24 hours, he came into the office because we were kind of working together in the same office. I said, bro, I booked a one-way flight to Bali. Really? Yeah. When do you leave? 2 weeks. And on the night that I was supposed to leave New Zealand, I had all my mates over and we had dinner and stuff like that. I was waiting for my COVID test to come back, and it ended up coming back positive. I was like, boys, I got to go out and get this call. And then they saw me walk back in. Oh, bro, I'm so sorry, man. We can go out somewhere after this if you want. No, I just want to go to bed.
Oh my God. So you end up making the flight. You end up coming here. Was it what you were sort of looking for?
It was better than what I had expected. I'd been to Bali a couple of years back for a 2-week holiday with my ex at the time. And but when I came this time, it was different. I was in a different space. I had a different perspective. I had grown a little bit. And I remember getting dropped off at my new 2-bedroom villa with the pool and the cleaner. And, you know, they welcomed me in with a dragon fruit juice. And I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. And I remember for the first time jumping on the bike, you know, and riding in the sun and the winds blowing in my face and thinking to myself, this is it. Like, this is everything that I've ever dreamed of. But I still had this empty feeling inside because I was still dragging along this business that was stealing all of my time, all of my attention, and occupying all the space in my mind. So eventually I ended up selling that business. I was like, I need to get out of this thing. I need to sell this thing. And I got an offer on the business for $1.6 million. And the guy who bought the business, he said, hey, I'll put a small percentage down and I'll pay the rest off monthly over the next 2 years on this vendor financing agreement. And because I was desperate to get out of this business because I hated the model, I took the agreement. And then basically, as soon as the new owner jumped in, he turned off the ads. And the ads were responsible for 95% of the company's revenue. And he tried to do some cold outreach thing on LinkedIn and it completely bombed. The revenue went backwards. And he said to all the team members, guys, can't pay for a few months. We've got to get the revenue back up. So the team reluctantly agreed. A few months had gone by. Team still hadn't been paid. They said, fuck this, I'm out. One by one, the team members started to leave. As a result, the clients aren't being supported. They're logging into the Slack community channel saying, where's the coaches? And the new owner, he never introduced himself. He's just like the investor in the background, nowhere to be seen. And I ended up spending about $30,000 on lawyers to get the business back or, you know, to get the settlement paid out before it got worse. But he just kept ignoring the demand letters. So the lawyer said to me, the next step is litigation. It's going to cost about 200,000 USD. I said, I can't afford that because I haven't been paid for this thing.
Yeah.
So I had to walk away from this business with next to nothing. And I remember I was like napping throughout the day because I just wanted to turn my mind off. If I was awake, I was stressed. And I stood there and I was like, well, I don't want to build another business like this. It was just too crazy. Sales calls, sales coaches, appointment setters, and charging $20,000 per client is just mental. So I thought to myself, I want to try to do this subscription offer where I can just run ads to a funnel and just put a check out there, put a free trial on the front end so that people just jump in without me having to talk to them. And then it rolls into like $97 a week and they can cancel anytime. And then it's up to me to provide the value so that they stay by choice, not by force because they signed a client agreement. And so that's what I did. And then grew that to about 120K a month. But this time the profit margins were about 70%. I was like, this is amazing. And then I got an offer to sell that company. I made the same mistake twice by accepting a vendor financing deal again, which again fell through. So yeah, that was in October last year. So I walked away with nothing again. And so now I've built my third company called Subscription Kings, where I'm teaching that same subscription model that I used to grow Fit Pro University.
Yeah, bro. And one of the greatest things I think is that no one can take away the skills and knowledge. Like, although, you know, you've got effed over in many of these things and come out with some losses, all the lessons, all the skills, all the knowledge you've learned, and now you've been able to build all these other things as well. I guess this relates to what you do as well, making money online. You know, it's quite a big thing here in Bali as well. It's talked about a lot more than in New Zealand. How has money changed your life, bro?
I think just having the freedom to do what I want when I want. That was the thing that I've always wanted. Time freedom, location freedom, and the freedom to buy things within reason. I'm not going to, I've got no aspirations to buy a jet or a yacht, for example. As long as my basic needs are met and I've got time freedom and location freedom and I can take care of the people I love, I think after that point, money doesn't really excite you anymore. I think after $30,000, $40,000 a month, extra money doesn't really do anything else for you. It just provides more security and more opportunities to invest to have more security for the future and for my family and future generations.
And to those young lads that are listening to you and sort of in that position of the beginning of their journey thinking, man, I want to make money online too. I guess a little summary. What sort of like things for them to think about practically in regards to building this sort of life of time freedom, location freedom?
I think the most important thing is that you have to be completely immersed. And, some people call it monk mode. Some people call it ghost mode, whatever you want to call it. But there has to be an extended period of time where you're sacrificing time on the couch watching your favorite TV show, and you're sacrificing going out on the weekends and getting drunk or spending time with your friends. There has to be this like incubation period of stress and pressure, because that's what's going to forge the character traits that's required to actually become successful. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the skills, I mean, you can invest in mentorship. There's a lot of even low ticket things, $17 course you can buy where you can get a ton of different lessons. Mm-hmm. But what's really interesting is back in the day, I'd invest 10K in a mentor and I didn't get the result, and I'm pissed off and I'm blaming everything, the mentor, the system, anything outside of myself to protect my ego. And then years down the track, I look back in hindsight and I'm like, that was just another brick to build this bridge. And now that I can look back with a new set of eyes and ears, I see why I didn't succeed there. Mm. But it was just all a stepping stone. It was all a stepping stone.
Yeah. And what do you think keeps most people poor? Do you think it's mindset? Do you think it's blame?
I think it's listening to poor people.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's the advice that you're hearing. It's not the mentors that are doing the thing that you want to do. You're listening to maybe mom or older brother. Is that what you think it is?
Absolutely. I think if you sat around some people who owned a ice cream business and they were worth millions of dollars, and all you did every single day is you sat in a room with 20 other guys and they're all ice cream business entrepreneurs, and they're talking about, where do you source your ice cream? What are your profit margins like? What about the location here? How do you upsell them onto 3 scoops and 4 scoops? If you're sitting around those people, you are, as a byproduct, going to be an absolute beast in the game of ice cream sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just surrounding yourself with the people, not just in business, but in the specific area of business that you want to excel in.
And so when you came here, when you had developed the characteristics, the mindset traits, all these wonderful things, and you started building these things, were you surrounding yourself here, I mean, in Bali with these type of people, or were you in the monk mode and or self or tunnel vision, or was it a combination of both?
I think a lot of it is online, my online peers, which does get a little bit kind of lonely and isolating at times. You're just kind of talking virtually with people. But I do have a small circle here in Bali. Obviously now me and you are going to be hanging out. But I've got a really good group of friends over here that are all in the online space. They're all growth-minded, entrepreneurial-minded. And I love associating with those people, because sometimes I feel that communicating with non-entrepreneurs, Sam Ovens calls them civilians. Sometimes I feel like it's very hard to kind of connect and relate to them.
100%. And that's another reason why I felt for myself having to make a change. Like you said, you needed that change when you were back there. I had that itch too. And I know so many other individuals will have that itch somewhere deep inside, particularly from Aotearoa.
Yeah.
That burning desire of, I don't know what it is, but I know this is not it,
Yep.
It's very common. It's very common. But I also feel like most people don't bite the bullet and take that first step of even giving it a crack.
Yeah.
Like at least I know in 10, 20 years, I'll be able to look back and think, at least I gave it a crack.
You gave it a crack.
Yeah, bro. And you mentioned one word, which is actually something you're well known for, and it is the system. On your social media and stuff, and you talk about this idea of slavery programming. What does that mean to you, bro?
I just think that from a young age, we've been programmed into a mindset and a way of being that isn't necessarily the most optimal way of being. So, for example, we grow up and we're programmed by school teachers that don't have the life that we want, and we go spend time in a job. And if we go outside of the box and try to pursue something in business, then we get shut down for it by friends and family members and this whole tall poppy syndrome to say, what are you doing? It's going to fail. where it's just people putting their own self-imposed limitations on you. And when you're trying to build these skills and these character traits when they're in their infancy, getting that kind of outside feedback is very detrimental. And I feel like that's why a lot of people don't actually bite the bullet, because they're so scared of rejection of their friends and people saying, told you, man. So they don't do it because they don't want the embarrassment.
How does someone break the system? Is the first thing, I guess, awareness and knowing, putting yourself in the driving seat and knowing where you are and what you're doing?
Absolutely. My advice would be to look around you every single day and just observe the space around you. And look at all the people around you. And it's like, do they have the life that you want? Look at everyone driving, stuck in traffic, going to work every single day, coming home. They're all watching the news. They're all being indoctrinated by the same sources of information. And so if us as a society are all programmed in this direction, like there needs to be a break in the chain in order to escape. And, Andrew Tate calls it escaping the matrix or whatever. But I do feel like a lot of people are just kind of sleepwalking through life. They're laying down in this river and they're just waiting for it to take them to the waterfall, and they're going to jump off and they're going to die. People are just sleepwalking through life. They're moving and they're not giving anything any thought.
Yeah.
They don't know what they want to do, why they want to do it, where they want to go. They're just kind of, well, I guess this is it. And there's a percentage of human beings on this planet that have this itch in their gut to be like, I am capable of more than this, and I'm going to give it a crack. And I don't give a shit what anybody says, because there's evidence of other people in this world that are doing it. Therefore, I can do it.
Do you still think you're trying to chase and prove to society and prove to others of what you're capable of doing?
In the beginning, it was proving to other people that I could be the person that I said I could be. And then after I got over that and my ego was scratched and I kind of grew a little bit, my perspective changed. It was more so about proving to myself that I could do more and be more and have more and give more and contribute more. So now it's just kind of a thing with myself there's an identity that's reinforced. And the scary thing to this is that if I woke up tomorrow morning, I had $0 in my bank account, I had no online business, I had no social media presence, the scariest thought is I wouldn't even know who I am, bro.
Wow.
So I think a lot of my own significance and the value that I place on myself is attached to the value that I'm providing others. That I feel like if I'm not providing value to others and I don't have any of this, I'd feel like a failure. I'd feel like the ultimate failure.
Earlier on, you were driven by, I guess you had a chip on your shoulder, right? Young fella, just navigating his way through life, had a shit deck of cards being handed to him. What do you think is your fuel source now?
It's the fear of going back, by far. A lot of people is like, what's your motivation? It's either like a push towards or it's a pull back. Mine is definitely like a pull. I fear going backwards. I don't care about Lamborghinis and mansions. Whilst that would be nice, the biggest fuel of motivation for me is the pain of going back to a 9-to-5 job and struggling and drinking on the weekends to cope and sort of suppress how I was feeling about my shitty existence. So I always associate a lot of motivation with the pain of where I came from. And that's more than enough to keep pushing me forward.
And in regards to that word suppress, how do you think you suppress or express your emotions now?
That's a really interesting question. Growing up, I was suppressing a lot of my emotions, going through the bullying thing and then using boxing as an outlet, but it was a physical outlet. It wasn't a verbal outlet to express my thoughts and how I was feeling. It was just like, the pads and sparring and tournaments and stuff like that. And then moving to Australia, I couldn't express how I was feeling to those people. They'd be like, well, you're a pussy, So I guess I haven't really been inside of environments that have allowed me to express my emotions and open up about things that I've been through. And I think a lot of that is translated to business as well. When I deal with stress and pressure, I kind of feel a little bit numb to it. And I know that deep down subconsciously, there is stress there
Mm.
because it kind of comes out in other areas where I find myself clenching my jaw sometimes, or grinding my teeth in my sleep, or biting my lip, or sometimes playing with this. I've got a little bit of ADHD as well, from just as you are. But yeah, it definitely shows up at a subconscious level, although I don't feel like I feel it consciously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, bro. So you're aware of it and you know it's there. You just don't you don't have avenues where you can, I guess, express it in other ways. And if you feel like you do, maybe it's also the trauma of when you did it in Australia and got shut down all those times.
Yeah. So I think that, boxing right now, it's such a good outlet, because even though I'm not expressing and, laying everything out on the table, I'm still exerting. Whenever I'm feeling mentally exhausted, physically exhausting myself combats that. I'm too physically exhausted to be stressed. So that's been a great outlet. I feel so good afterwards.
Do you think about happiness much? Do you think, am I happy, or?
I think about purpose a lot.
Mm.
And I think about what's the purpose of me? Like, all right, I'm going to have a family and I'm going to get married and then I'm going to have kids. And so my purpose is looking after my kids, looking after my wife. But outside of that, I'm like, what's the purpose of this existence? We go on holidays, we catch up with friends, we go out for dinner. You do that all the time and it kind of becomes normalized. It's like, when I first moved to Bali, I had this weird feeling. It's like this euphoria moment. And I've been in Bali now for nearly 4 years. And I was saying to my friend the other day, it kind of becomes normalized. And one thing that I would love to teach myself is how to revisit that same feeling that I experienced when I was riding the bike on that first day. Like, this is it. How do I bring that feeling back into my body to experience that again and again and again? Because that was an incredible feeling.
It's so powerful, actually, because I wanted to ask you about this, which leads to that. And it's this idea of gratitude. And I know that you have mentioned before that you've struggled in the past to be grateful for the life that you've built. Do you feel that way now?
What I'm doing at the moment is I am journaling every single day with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a daily journal, which is what I'm planning to do, I said, first, ChatGPT, I want to give you my entire backstory. So I'm giving it all the small details every single day. And it's kind of giving me feedback. It's really good feedback. It's not saying, hey, you should do this, but it's kind of encouraging me to write the next journal entry and sort of recognizing what I've done and kind of, it feels really good. But I'm also writing some gratitude at the end of my journal entry as well, because I feel like if I'm not consciously writing down what I'm grateful for, I don't become grateful for things. I feel like I have to become aware of what I'm grateful for and write it down for it to come into my awareness.
That's so interesting, Dan, because even for me, I've only been here less than 2 weeks. And on the outside, most people, and I thought actually when I was coming here that this is going to be the dream. And for those first couple days, I'm out here full freedom, and there was still a part of me when I was reading your stuff. I was like, holy shit, I can relate to that. I don't actually feel grateful for my days right now. And I don't know what it was maybe it was just a few bad days, but something shifted and I started thinking, I remember you and I talking about this morning, started thinking about less about being happy or thinking about myself,
Yeah.
and thinking like, holy heck, how can I give the best Zach to the other people?
Yep.
And man, since I've made that shift, fuck, I've been humming.
That's awesome.
I've been loving it. But I guess, that stuck out for me of, you build this life, or you're building this life that you want, right? And when you've sort of got it and you're doing it, there's like a part of you that expects to be like, to have these like euphoric feelings. And sometimes when those euphoric moments aren't happening, you sort of question yourself and think, holy shit, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm really trying to find fulfillment in the daily habits and the daily routines, going to breakfast in the morning, going to Soma for a training session, going for a walk with my fiance and our dogs on the beach. Those little things and being grateful for that is really powerful for me. For myself especially, I feel like gratitude happens and all of scarcity stops happening when I stop thinking about myself. But when I'm struggling, the only person that I can think about is myself because I'm dying. And that's the paradox.
It's so true. It's so good. Do you think, is there anything else internally that you think you're working on that the public don't see?
Trying to be a better partner for Diana. I don't want to be one of these statistics where the divorce rate, what's the divorce rate in New Zealand? It's one of the highest in the world, I
It'll
think.
be up there, bro.
80%, 70% or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I said to Diana, I said, when I make a commitment to marry you, I want this to be for life. And I want to invest in mentors to become a better husband, a better father, a better role model for my family.
How do
So
you
I'm
feel
gonna-
about becoming a dad, about becoming a husband?
Excited,
Yeah.
really excited. Actually, about a year ago, I had temporarily broken up with Diana. I just said to her, I said, I don't know if I want to get married. I don't know if I'm ready for kids.
Mm.
And I guess it was the fear of it not working out
Mm.
and my kids growing up with me not there and having another man in the house. I think that's like my biggest fear, bro.
Yeah.
My biggest fear.
Now that you've built this life, 5-10 years, what does future Dan look like?
I want to be spending all of my time with my family.
Mm.
No business. I want to be retired in the next 5 years, hopefully. But I've got to take some big risks to
Yeah.
get there.
I was just going to say, how do you do that? Take risks.
Just numb.
Yeah, bro.
But it's going to be McDonald's or it's going to be let's go. But there will be signs, bro.
Yeah. Welcome to the Martin Show First Ad Break. For anyone who is wanting to go on a new journey, learn a new skill, we have started our basic beginners boxing fundamentals course. For anyone, if it's your first time, if you're a seasoned member, this is the course for you in the boxing space or fitness space. Click the link below or go to onlineboxingtraining.com and I'll see you guys there. Let's get some mahi, eh? Dan, we got some fire-off questions for you, brother. What's one belief you've had to unlearn to grow?
That you need to buy a house to be successful.
Ooh.
I think that's the biggest psyop.
Mm.
Example, my dad bought a house 8 years ago. He's renting it out to tenants. The tenants are paying the rent. The rent isn't enough to pay the mortgage.
Mm.
So people are buying a house. I mean, don't get me wrong. A real estate investment is a good investment, but people are buying a home, living in the home, paying off the mortgage and calling it an asset when it's actually a liability. And I've got family members at home being like, Dan, you bought a house yet? You bought a house yet? And they attach so much significance to this thing of like, you're not successful until you get a house. I'm thinking, maybe I don't want to get a house. Maybe I just want to invest in Bitcoin. At least then I don't have to put Bitcoin on the market and wait 6 months for it to sell. It's liquid.
That goes back to the system though, right? It's what we're
Conditioned to believe.
exactly, bro.
Back in the day, your grandfather and my grandfather bought a house with 3 weeks' wages and a couple of raspberries, bro. Now it's like 10 years' salary.
For the soul, NZ or Bali?
Bali. For myself personally.
Mm.
They say that, yeah, it's just changed my perception on reality so much.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, I love New Zealand. I love the people of New Zealand. I love going on long road trips down to Coromandel and up to Kaitaia. I love it. There's something about Bali where I feel there's something inside of me that feels very calm and relaxed here. When I'm in New Zealand, I feel my ADHD is firing. I'm like, go, 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 go. No breaks. I think Bali has kind of forced me to slow down and to appreciate the little things too. When I was living in New Zealand, I had a 4-bedroom house that I was living in by myself with my French bulldog, and I was driving a Maserati and just keeping up with the Joneses. Here I got my scooter, my flip-flops, my rugby shorts. I'm like, yes,
Jordan cap.
this is all I
Soma
need.
tee. Yeah,
This is all I need. I don't want to compete in that marketplace with who's got the best car, who's got the bigger house. I'm happy living this lifestyle. As long as I have time, location freedom, and my family, my loved ones are looked after, that's all I care about.
What's one thing you wish you knew before making your first dollar online?
That it's going to take 100 times more reps than you realize. It's going to take way more work than you anticipate. What we see online, it's marketed to us, it's perceived in a way where it's quick, it's easy, doesn't take much effort, because people read the $100 Million Offers book by Alex Hormozy, and it's like, increase desired outcome, decrease time and effort, decrease the time delay it takes to get there. So people are just rolling out these crazy offers and other people are believing them. And then so when they get started, they're being fed this offer. You can make 10K in the next 60 days. Otherwise, you get your money back and, mow your dad's lawn. And so, but they sign a contract. And in that contract, it says, hey, in order to qualify for this, you got to spend $1,000 a day on ads. You got to convert at least 50% on sales calls. They make it very strict. But people come into the game with very skewed expectations that don't meet reality. And it causes a lot of dissatisfaction and disappointment.
What's the system's biggest lie?
That you need to go to university. You need a university degree to become successful. It's interesting when I've spoken to some friends, and when somebody starts a business, no one really celebrates it. But then one of the other boys, he'll go out and he'll, win a tennis tournament. Everyone's like, yeah. But when somebody shares success, no one cares. It's really interesting.
It's very interesting.
I feel like the path of entrepreneurship really exposes who the real ones are in your circle.
Do you think everyone can be an entrepreneur?
I don't think so. It just takes a certain type of person. And I think as entrepreneurs, we're all a little bit messed up.
Bit cuckoo.
We're just channeling that trauma into a certain direction. And that's why I'm very grateful for everything I've been through in my life, because without it, maybe I wouldn't have had the grit and the resilience and those mental calluses to be able to handle rejection and deal with problems and push past them.
Legacy or lifestyle? Which one and why?
Lifestyle. Because we're just a dot in this world, man. The crazy thing is that when I die, there might be like 80 people at the funeral. They're going to be sad. 2 hours later, this person's stressed out. They got work the next day. They got bills to pay. 1 generation, they might remember me. 3 generations, no one will even know I exist, bro. I'm just a dot.
So true, eh?
But I really want to make sure that this life experience, the people that I surround myself with and connect with, friends, associates, family, I want to make sure that I'm giving them the absolute best life experience and the best of me that I possibly can. That's what I care about. That's my legacy.
What's the worst advice you've ever received?
Save your money. The dollar they're printing dollars into oblivion right now, and inflation is chewing up 15% of your savings every single year. So by saving your money, it's just rotting in the bank account. But we feel so insecure to invest our money elsewhere. For example, crypto. Everyone says it's a scam, yet BlackRock and all the governments and all the banking systems are adopting crypto. But people still think it's a scam. People still aren't investing in crypto, which I find just absolutely insane because the fiat dollar is collapsing, whereas Bitcoin, on average, it's gone up 75% year on year, given the 4-year lows and the highs.
It's looking good right now.
Yeah, and it's looking really good right now. We're just about to enter alt season.
Do you think, though, for that advice, similar question, but worst advice for men specifically?
I wouldn't say the worst advice, but I'd say the worst position a man could be in is this position of trying to be cool, distracting himself every weekend with drugs and alcohol and sleeping around with girls, because it's just killing your spirit. It's pulling them away from God, and it's destroying their path and their future. And some people wake up sooner than others, but it's a wake up that it's an awakening that everyone needs and will experience at some point in their life. Some people it's young, some it's 30, some it's, like for me, it was 32 years old. I woke up.
I want to go to that younger Dan. Could be that 32-year-old that's just arrived in Bali. It could be the 16-year-old that is at a really, really low. What's the one thing you'd want to tell him, bro?
God's putting all of this in place to build you, to test you, to see if you really want it, to see if you can handle the responsibilities that I'm going to give you one day. I feel like that's what I feel, man.
I love that. My final question, brother. If you had to erase everything, all the businesses, all the social posts, everything that you've shared, and you had 60 seconds left, what's the one final thought that you want to leave with the world?
Be a good person. That's my whole philosophy. I just, all I believe in is just Be a good person. You don't have to believe in God. Like, some people don't believe in God, and, each to their own. And, some people read the Bible, some people don't. I don't read the Bible. I don't go to church. But I innately know, and I'm consciously always aware of, like, how am I showing up as a person? Because if we have more people that are considerate of other people, the world will be a much better place. If we have people that think before they speak, think before they act, consider how the other person's going to perceive what you're saying when you say something. If we have people that are more aware, the world will be a much better place. It's just that a lot of people are blindfolded, distracted, unaware, asleep, sleepwalking through life, and only thinking of themselves.
Dan, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where the previous guest asks the next guest a question, not knowing who they are. The question for you today, bro, is what's one thing that you want people who don't know you to know about you?
That's a tough one. Would it be weird if I said that I'm not bothered by what people that don't know me?
Yeah, bro.
Doesn't matter. Again, bro, I'm a dot. I'm a dot in this world. But the people that do come into my space, that I do connect with, if the people that don't know me, get to know me. And then we can chat.
Dan Suckling, I'm going to get to know you a little bit more too, my bro. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother.
Where can the people find you, man?
They can find me on Instagram at Subscription Kings, or on Facebook, Daniel Suckling.
Kia ora, team. That concludes another episode of the Martin Show Bali series, part 1. We're going to be back next week for another episode. Let's keep the ball rolling. Kia ora, mauri ora. Thank you.